Hey class, welcome. I am at a really special place today. Going to do, I think, a really powerful interview for you. So I'm at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless in Denver, Colorado. We are social distancing, although Dr. Jason here is a close friend of mine. I'm going to let him introduce himself and where he works and what his role is here, a little bit about his educational background, and then we're kind of going to move into a discussion about policy of homelessness here in Denver, Colorado. So, Jason.
Hello class, I'm Dr. Jason Lester. I am the Director of Family Support Services here at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless. Specifically, the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless is here because our unhoused community members have to have a voice. Our unhoused community members have to have someone that's advocating for them on a local and a state and federal level. So essentially what happens is we provide direct services as well as advocate for the needs of the unhoused community members. Specifically with the Family Support Services division that I am over, I have the honor of seeing families have permanent housing. That's the ultimate goal. So imagine a family that was once experiencing homelessness, not knowing where they were going to rest their head, couch surfing, going from place to place. Well, that individual or that family is able to come in, do an assessment, and then receive services. And as well as we do mental health, we do functional family therapy, we do individual therapy, and we basically try to assist people in navigating this crucible of being unhoused. Currently, we have about 500 families that are receiving permanent housing, and we wish to have more because ultimately what we want to do is put a big dent in families specifically being unhoused. Also, here under my purview, I have a residential child care facility where we have children that are from 0 to 6, where they come and they participate in early education opportunities, and we provide daycare to these children while their parents are out working or doing whatever it is that they need. So we try to eliminate the barriers and have affordable opportunities for families so that they can go out and work and their kids are able to be in a safe place and have supervision. There are so many great people that work here. We have MSWs, we have LCSWs, we have LPCs, we have people with bachelor's degrees, but the ultimate goal is that we want everyone to come together to provide services. So specifically, what that looks like is we have a case management position where basically the case managers have bachelor's degrees in sociology, psychology, criminal justice, or human development, or something behavioral, and what they do is they are basically the muscle. They are able to get the unhoused community members or the families that happen to have housing the things that they need, specifically vital documents, food, access, gift cards sometimes, whatever it is that they need. We try in our best way possible to get them that through our case managers. Our clinical case managers they add a therapeutic component to it. So basically, they're able to go into the living room of the families and sit down and chat with them to help them navigate past traumas that they may have experienced or just try to get through the moment. I guess what I want to say is that many of our clients have substance use situations that they're trying to navigate. All of our clients have severe trauma, and basically sometimes you combine these things, or all the time when you combine these things, you wind up having depression, you wind up having all kind of outcomes that sometimes leads to just needing someone to sit down and chat with. So ultimately what we try to do is provide our clients with world-class services, and basically we try to track if they are making progress. Pleased to say that the vast majority of our clients are making progress. And we also with this, we have a vocational specialist that is able to tap into what strengths is it that individual brings to the table. So then that individual is able to either get that GED that they always wanted, or possibly go to a community college. Sky's the limit. but we have had some success stories there. So, I mean, ultimately, that's pretty much what we do in family support services.
If you don't mind for just a minute or two, please share with my class your background, because Jason is a social worker, and why don't you share a little bit about your journey to get here to the coalition?
Absolutely. So, I guess I started off in 2005, August of 2005, and I was an in-home therapist at the Mental Health Center of Madison County after earning a bachelor's degree in sociology. And I did that for 2.5 years. We provided functional family therapy, and Alabama was quite interesting because, due to tensions, racial tensions, it had to be a man or a woman, and it had to be different races that aligned together to provide services to the families. And I enjoyed that. Simultaneously, I was working on my first master's degree in human development, family studies, and that worked out very well for me. Something came about to say move to Colorado, and I was like, I'm moving to Colorado. So briefly, I did child support enforcement, but then I got into child welfare in 2009. I was an adolescent permanency caseworker at Arapahoe County Department of Human Services, and did great work. There's where I really learned the rudiments of, I think, social work. And I developed a passion for creating permanency for children that were languishing in foster care. And basically that passion was so strong that I ended up becoming the supervisor of adoption at Denver Human Services. There we created permanency for well over 800 children. They're in their forever homes, and we really did a great job of recruiting families to be forever families.
Then you went on and got your master's in social work.
I had an intern. She was getting her, interestingly enough, I had an intern. She was getting her master's degree at the University of Denver. I was so intrigued with the social justice aspects and all of the things that she was talking about. I was like, well, I want to go and get a master's degree. So interestingly enough, my intern recruited me to join her program at the University of Denver. And I guess from there, I earned a master's degree in social work. Then I was able to become the permanency manager for Colorado for all 64 counties. And then, here I am now. I am at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless and the Director of Family Support Services.
All right. So class, we're going to shift gears at this point because I do want to talk about a pretty important policy. It's the kind of policy that people of privilege would totally ignore because it's out of sight, out of mind. For a while now in Colorado, here in Denver, the mayor has had a policy, and I don't know, and I'm going to let Dr. Jason comment on this. I don't know if this is a written policy or it's become a practice which has led to it becoming a policy, but the mayor will order the police and the sanitation department to go out to homeless encampments and tent cities, tent communities, and to bulldoze it down, tear it down, clean it up. In fact, as we were parking the car this morning to come to the coalition to visit Dr. Jason, I'm pretty sure we witnessed the beginning this morning of a sweep that's going to be happening a block from the coalition here. So, Dr. Jason, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about this practice or this policy that the mayor has enacted. Why do you think the mayor has made this decision, and what is the long-term and short-term, impacts of it?
Well, this is arguably the biggest fight that I've seen. Sometimes when something happens, it causes you to wake up and try your best to fight against it. And for me, as a social worker, this is the thing. So how it all started was that we saw an uptick in individuals becoming unhoused, and they had nowhere to go. We have a shortage of shelters, and unfortunately, they end up on the street. They have their tents, and that's all that they have. Simultaneously, Denver is the number 2 city in the nation where we have gentrification. So we have all these investors that are building these high-rise apartments, and simultaneously we're not having affordable living happening at the same time. So as these high rises go up, we don't have equity with providing a sense of opportunity for individuals that need houses. So many people in the community, those that are privileged, complain it's an eyesore. This has to be a health crisis. This is just terrible. Move them. Just move them anywhere. Just get them from here. So the city has the ability to come and sweep these sidewalks. Well, our unhoused community members put their tents on the sidewalks. And they basically will come and they'll have a notice where it should be 48 hours to let you know that, hey, the city is coming by. That should give the unhoused individual enough time to move their things. But because they are unable to move those things and keep moving from place to place, their things get picked up and literally thrown in the trash can. Many people have had outcries about this. Many people have seen this happen, and basically the city has the right to do this. Well, just last week at Civic Center Park, there were 100 tents that were there. All 100 tents were either thrown away or individuals were able to expeditiously move so that their things would not be thrown away. What I want to say is that we have COVID happening now. According to the CDC, basically it is not best practice for cities like Denver to sweep the homeless, because what winds up happening is that we could potentially spread COVID-19, or we could get individuals to go from place to place to place, and basically they have potentially spread that virus.
In fact, while we were parking the car, and I mentioned, I think we saw a sweep beginning this morning. The people that could be swept today might have been swept last week.
Mm-hmm.
So they hustled to get out of that 100 tent community.
Right.
They're here,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're going to have to move again.
Right. And I guess that is not, I don't think it's a band-aid for the solution. It's not a solution, because we can't keep moving people from place to place to place. What we need is permanent housing for our citizens, and we need 24-hour, 24/7 shelter care where individuals don't have to check out, they can just check in. Pleased to inform you that, as a social worker, I was able to speak up. And basically in speaking up about my thoughts about sweeping the homeless, I was able to be selected to be on the mayor's safety group, where we were able to provide recommendations on how to best find a solution for this. And I'm pleased to tell you that, though I have my disagreements with the mayor, he did come around and he did say that he would embrace the recommendations. Most noteworthy, a 24/7 shelter that would be able to hopefully give the vast majority of our unhoused community members a sense of safety, and they don't have to keep checking out and checking in during the day. And we want people to have access. Our unhoused community members don't have access. And I think another noteworthy recommendation that was accepted was that we'll have the ability to put Wi-Fi in every streetlight. So now the Mile High City will be able to get access to people, everyone in general, but our unhoused community members specifically.
Well, yes, with so many businesses going to online job applications, and you live in a tent and you don't have a router in your tent, yeah, it makes it very difficult to be able to apply for work and apply for resources and benefits.
Yeah.
You had mentioned there's been an uptick in unhoused and homeless here in Denver. I know that number is so fluctuating, but here in the middle of the summer, what are the estimate numbers of unhoused?
Well, verified, we can say that we have about 5,900 people out there. But, if we were to truly, we don't have access and the ability to have everyone in our homeless management information system. So, because we have not been able to make contact with us, the estimate is that we actually have about 8,000 to 10,000 people that are unhoused in the metropolitan area.
And just for comparison's sakes, students, that is pretty comparable to Kansas City. Kansas City in the summer will see an uptick closer to the 9,000 range, and then in the winters, those numbers then go back down. So pretty comparable. So, all right. So what is, in closing, what recommendations do you have to any of my students about policy and why policy is important?
Well, what I want to say is that, as a professor at the University of Denver, and an individual that teaches policy, it's great to understand everything that's in the textbook. It's great to understand the journals that you read for class. But if you are an individual that's a social worker and you have an idea and you see a change that needs to be made, it almost needs to be your obligation to stand up and say something. Nothing will ever change if you don't speak up. The most empowering moment for me with regard to this position was when I had the opportunity to stand up and talk about why I disagreed with the sweeps. And I did it publicly. And fortunately, the video got in the right hands of the mayor. I was able to participate in some policy change and create recommendations that are going to hopefully change the entire game with regard to individuals being unhoused. It would never happen if I wouldn't have spoke up. I also want to encourage you to be very active in your community and participate. I know it may be boring to sit in those community meetings, but try to go to one because your opinion matters. As the social worker, you are one of the most enlightened in the room. And, again, it's your obligation to speak up. The other thing that I want to say is that policy from the federal, state, and local levels, policy comes from an idea. And that idea can be either a group of people or it can be one individual. But the main thing about it is that if policy happens, that there are people that made that possible because there was an issue that needed to be addressed. And if you can get like-minded individuals, great. But the main thing is to get those individuals that may see things differently, get them to the table and figure out what type of concessions need to be made so that we can get here, right in the middle, and possibly make the effective change that we need to make.
All right, well, thank you. That was pretty powerful. Thank you, class, for tuning in and listening to Dr. Jason. Real pleasure. Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you.